welcome back to the Marketing Brief Podcast. I am your host, Brian Aquan, and this is the podcast where we briefly discuss topics across the marketing landscape. As always, we are joined by an industry expert, also a friend this time. Please welcome into the pod, Anthony Deptula. Anthony,
Nice.
welcome in.
Now we know how to say each other's last names.
Exactly, right? This is what this is for.
I mean, like, I only know like last names from like middle school, and then after that, like all last names are like go away until you're doing media, and you're like, how do you? I'm like, oh, that's how you say your last name, Brian. I've always wondered.
What gets weird is when you encounter someone, then you know their like Instagram handle, but you don't know their name, and you're like, I only know this person by a handle.
I for my magazine, I literally I mailed someone a magazine, and it was just their Instagram handle because they didn't give me their name, and I was just like, TYJ, I don't even know what it was, and I was like, sure,
Yeah,
there you go.
we'll get to them. How would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yeah,
A little bit about
I'm
what you
Anthony
do.
Deptula, president of BMP Creative. Been sort of creative my whole life, so found my way into an agency that I love. I founder of a kids magazine called Tag the Magazine, which is an interactive paper magazine, and I guess I'm a serial entrepreneur now. So, but have a tech company, advise companies, and a doer.
You are, and of course, BMP is the AOR for Netflix as well, so
Correct.
not
Yeah,
too
we do
shabby.
a lot of videos for them a year. We've worked on Stranger Things, the team is great. Stranger Things, Squid Game, all the One Piece, all the big franchises, and thankful to have them as a client. And they're I think one of the more creative studios out there, and they'll take risks. I worked
Yeah,
at Disney, and like it was really
yeah,
hard to take risks there.
yeah. We both worked for Disney. The mouse.
Yeah,
Well, I'd love to. You and I kind of bonded over COVID moves, right? You
yeah,
moved to Detroit during COVID. I moved to Denver. And I remember we used to have our calls and talk about what that was like. What I'd love to ask you is you did creative in Los Angeles. You're doing creative in Detroit. What is it you've learned about being outside Los Angeles that has kind of inspired or taught you anything about how you get inspired for creative, how you build creative, how you
yeah.
see people responding to your creative?
I think there's less talking about the creative process in Detroit, and there's just more space to do it. Where I think in LA, hey, I'm guilty of it. It's like, hey, I'm like, I got this thing, and I'm doing this thing, and I'm doing that, and then like it becomes like in LA, like 25% of the job is talking about the job. And I think there is value to it because you get connections and there's synergies and there's capital and probably more capital, which is changing in Michigan. There's the state MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Council, Michigan Research Foundation. We just gave away $1 million. I was, running marketing with them and comms, and we did that last week to 4 founders. One founder got $1 million, and it was an entertainment company, Adrenaline
Mm-hmm.
Interactive. And it's like, okay, people go to bed early. Like everyone's like restaurants close early. Like it's not
Yeah,
like New York or LA. Like you don't really have time in LA because it's like you're constantly busy. But like I'm telling you, like the one nice restaurant in my little hometown is like closes at like 9:20 or something weird. And I'm always like, why do I
it's
gotta
an odd
go?
time.
I don't know. I'm making that up. But like it's like I don't got nothing to do. Like I literally, like I got to do something. And so I got a basement. I get to do things. And I not to say that there's not creative people. I think that the creative people are family oriented. They're sort of hiding in their cocoons. And LA, it's just, a lot of entertainment. You have to have the pizzazz. You have to, you don't have to, but I think it does help. I think it does help. And so I would say I, I don't know what your experience was in Colorado, but a little bit more of time to have deep thinking and in a way that I'm busy at the agency and we're getting a lot of work done, and at the end of the night I get to it gets to be quiet, and I get to think. Wow, that's really interesting. It's not always my favorite speed, to be honest. Like I like to move, but it's been valuable in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. I mean, you asked me about my experience in Denver. I mean, it's all wrapped up in COVID at this point, right? Because it was three
Yeah.
years, then moved back to Los Angeles in 2023.
Yep.
So it's kind of wound up in that area of just like being in our homes and like finding ways to connect with people. So it's tough to kind of decouple it from that. But I have very fond memories of Denver. I really love Denver as a city. Access to the mountains is great. Being with people who like to access the mountains is great. That was one of my favorite things.
That's cool.
Yeah, always remember that fondly. Speaking of inspiration, Tag the Magazine is one of your projects. How did you get inspired for that project? How did you get
Yeah.
started
I
on it?
was at I was at Goldie Blocks at the time, and YouTube was, really changing. Goldie Blocks is a female empowerment toy company to help young women get into STEM. Debbie Sterling's the CEO. She's really amazing.
One of
Actually,
the most like one of the best YouTube trailers that just like took over the toy space when it came out.
oh yeah, like her Kickstarter to
Yeah.
Macy's parade. It's just, a lot of mission driven attracted to that. I think there's a lot of crap in the world and you can be distracted. And distracted from the good things that you might want to do or think that you can't do because of how crap the world is. And YouTube comments went away, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I did a bunch of shows. I think it was safe for kids, but like kids kind of lost a youth voice, and I continue to see like kids losing tools to actually be able to communicate, talk to each other, tell you what you like. There's a lot of other magazines that are out there that I think are legacy magazines, really, thoughtful, caring, love kids, but they just don't know what kids like. And I had that experience with YouTube where it's like you got to talk to them and you got to like understand them from a kid level and you get to have fun, right? And so that was one of the things. And so I was just like, let's have it be interactive so kids can have space. They can be the published artists and writers. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And now I'm finding out that lots of people want to play with it. Like, people just want to play. Like, that's the thing. Like, toys have been around since humanity started.
Hmm.
Right? Like if you go to a museum, you're like, oh man, that's like an ancient toy. Like that's crazy, you know? And so to me, A is really important for this, having fun and just being able to draw. I'm working on issue number 2 now, and my buddy Jonathan Watkins, he's in a punk band in LA. He's a great artist, and we drew together when we were in first grade and he was in kindergarten. We made comics.
Cool.
And so he did a whole like sneaker thing for me for issue number 2. And I get to draw. I just want to draw, and I think the pressures of the job, pressures of any job, pressures of having a family, capitalism, economic, macroeconomics and all this, ecosystems, and it's like, oh my God. This is all out of my control, but I have a pencil or I have a pen and I have a pad of paper, and I'm gonna draw Rosa Parks. She seems cool. A kid said, I want to go back in time and meet Rosa Parks, and I think it's even cool that she went to jail. And I was like, awesome. I'm gonna draw her mugshot. And
Yeah.
so,
Rosa Parks is a baddie.
yeah, she's great. Shout out to the Henry Ford Museum. They have the Rosa Parks bus. They have the chair that
Nice.
Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in. But it's one of the best museums in the world. But I just get to draw, man, and like get to be creative. I run a creative agency, and so I have to be creative. I have to do my morning pages. I have to like things. I have to be inspired. And so if I'm working with a brand, I can bring all of my creative energy, and I gotta fill that up. And I don't know how you do it, but I go to museums, I draw, I get inspired by kids, and so it's just really fun to actually make something instead of get stuck in that cycle of being paralyzed by, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah. I'm working on a couple of projects in the kids space right now. One's a book, one's an animated series. And the consumer insight research I've done has kind of pointed to parents, and I had this kind of through line for parents with young kids of like, I want something that entertains my kid that's not a toy, right?
Hmm.
That's anything that's just not like a physical toy that takes up space and it's plastic and they just don't want it in their house. Like, what's something that's entertaining that's not a toy that I can show my kid? And I know there's a physical aspect to Tag the magazine as well. Is
Yeah.
that something you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's a newspaper. I mean, it prints in Tecumseh, Michigan. The Tecumseh Herald prints it for me. It's paper. I like that it can like be torn apart. It can be, used for collage. It can be used for whatever, right? Kids like getting mail. Like it's just my kid, 9 years old, just like his loves getting mail. It's like that's my name. I want to get the
Yeah.
It's sort of a surprise. I think being in the physical realm is good. It's sort of a universal thing that people want to do, right? Like they want something. People want things.
Hmm.
And like, what a great gift. You get a gift and then you get to put your story or your comic. It's really comic based and graphic novel, which is really cool. And one of the things that I'm doing are physical pop-ups. So one of the authors and illustrators, he's with Abrams, this guy Jared Chapman, he's really cool. Simon and Schuster, Scholastic. He just did a really cool spread that's going to be in issue number 2 called Taekwondo Toad. And we're taking over what I'm calling a crayon graveyard, which is a really cool, fun space for kids that's been abandoned and it looks like it's been massacred and it's a mess and there's like eaten coloring books and, trash. And so we're going to like clean that up. And I have this great artist, Jeremy Rowe, and he's building these cardboard mailboxes. So kids will basically get a tearaway from the magazine, get to draw, get to put in the mailbox. I've been carrying it around because I've been like meeting people on the weekends and people are like, what is that? And like, I'm like, oh, I started a kids magazine. They're like, oh, I'm going to get it. Like Barbacell started with shaving cream with little boards that said, hey, buy my shaving cream, right? Like, I think as humans, we can overcomplicate everything.
Hmm.
And the platforms have made it really difficult to connect with people, right? And sure, it can work, but basically, if you can connect with a human face to face and tell them about your product, I mean, I get it. It takes time, but like I think organic is a great way to do it because organically reaching the people that you want to reach by pressing all these buttons and hitting all the demos to eventually get them and then get charged becomes addictive and is not going to be great because you're just going to have to keep doing it forever. But like for me, I get to carry a mailbox around, talk about something I love, like giving a Tag magazine to a kid at the airport and they light up. It's so much fun.
It dovetails nicely with one of the macro trends I've identified at Quan Consulting of community, which was a trend I think last year. We're still in this like post-COVID space where we're trying to find how do we communicate with people. And one of the ways we've always found our people is through like interests, right? So it's like when you
Yeah.
find something in your community that you're like, oh, that's a great thing to get involved in, then inherently there's a community around it. So I really love that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, if a brand a brand is a community. It's a group of people working together. Like I think REI is really good. It's a co-op, so it feels even more like a community.
Mhm.
I think Dropout's doing co-op style now, which is really cool. Like comics and all things comedy. Those felt like communities. Yeah, I mean, you do spend a lot of time with people at your job. It's not like it used to be, but if brands can really tap into who they are as themselves as a community. Like I'm sad, dude. I'm sad 1,000 people lost their job at Disney. I've been in I've been there, but it's
That
still,
that is one of the hardest parts about being laid off. I've been laid off a number of times, is that you
yeah,
lose that community.
yeah, yeah. And you kind of lose sort of this corporate mantra. A lot of work goes into those things. They tell you all these things, but ultimately you lose that community immediately and you're like, what? Some people, stay connected and it's healthy. But I think when you're doing it in the hundreds to thousands of people,
Yeah.
you're literally like going in and just like tearing apart infrastructure of like people's relationships over 10, 5, 20 years. And how are you supposed to stay creative that way. And I get it. It's hard to balance. I've been on both sides, and it's really hard to balance how to find that right vibe, right? And it's such a strange time in media. And you mentioned like from LA to Michigan. I the nice thing about being in a different state or than Los Angeles is like you kind of don't feel that macabre, fog that has been on the city like since COVID. Like it's just trying to fight back, and I really rooting for LA, and I think it will find its voice again. As a person that's writing, publishing a magazine to help kids find their voice, I think LA needs to find their voice, and these companies need to find their voice, and just like Microsoft and these big giant companies that started and then became this huge thing, they lost their voice, and then they have to find it again,
Yeah,
somehow.
it happens. It's cyclical that way. I want to ask you something I ask all of my guests.
Sure.
What's something you're excited about? It could be in your professional capacity, it can be in your personal life, but what's something you're looking forward to, you're excited about right now?
Yeah, we're getting a puppy next week. So a Labradoodle named Alfie. So that's next Friday.
Already got a name?
Yeah, Alfie's the best. He's like in puppy school right now, and I've never had a puppy. So
Okay.
we had a dog, Addie. She was great, and then she went over the rainbow, as they say. And
Hmm.
yeah, so we're getting a puppy. I'm really pumped up, man.
That's awesome. I've got a lot of tips for you. I've raised three puppies.
Really?
It's
Okay.
on my puppy raising is on my resume, actually. It's a skill
Really?
on my resume.
That's great.
It's down there with improv. It's usually, if people read the whole thing, then they're like, what is this improv puppy raising?
As we're like talking about community, like what are you doing? Like, this is community driven. What are other things that you're doing in your community, and how can I help you in that mission?
Yeah. This was definitely an effort. I love having these conversations with friends, with people in the industry. I'm always like pressure testing ideas and trends that I'm seeing and kind of getting feedback on it. So this was a great way to do that and to connect with people. It's pretty low lift. You could just jump on a
Yeah.
Zoom like we were all used to. So this is good. I went to an industry event in Venice on last Friday morning, and it was great. Like I haven't done that in so long, and I haven't
Oh,
been to like
cool.
these Think LAs or these things, and I really want to do more of those because it was older school people. It was really just very casual conversation. It was first thing in the morning, and then people stayed for like an hour, and then they left. They got their coffee, and then they left. But I was like, I want to do more of these. This was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Being human is fun.
Yeah, yeah, in real life. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Anthony. It was great to have you as a guest on the Marketing Brief podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad we're friends.
Of course, me too. This has been a brief conversation. I'm your host, Brian Aquan. Thank you for listening to the Marketing Brief podcast. Stay curious, everyone.